The word of the day is clarity. Joe Mixon, about 24 hours, less than 24 hours from when the deadline was to where the Texans had to make this decision. They have now put Joe Mixon on IR, which means he will miss. I'm going to emphasize this. He will miss at least 4 weeks this year. DeMeco Ryans met with the media types earlier today. Here was what he said when he was asked about Joe Mixon.
Do you have anything that you'd be able to offer on Joe Mixon's status ahead of the roster cutdown?
Yeah, we'll give you guys an update when the time comes. Most of our transactions will happen tomorrow, so it's nothing to update roster-wise. That's what everybody's looking for right now. There won't be a big update roster-wise as of right now. We're still working through some things collectively with me, myself, and Nick. Still working through it. Still a lot of decisions to be made here.
All right, so you asked the question, Cody, and then a few hours after that, we got this. From the Texans via Twitter, a statement on Joe Mixon. It says, tomorrow at 3, we will officially move Joe Mixon from the active non-football injury list to the reserve non-football injury list. Players placed on reserve non-football injury list may begin to practice after the club's 4th game of the regular season. We will provide further updates at an appropriate time, which, hey, that's probably going to be Wednesday when Nick Caserio and DeMeco Ryans speak. Tomorrow they got to make roster moves. We'll react to that. But we should get some comments on Wednesday. Your overall thoughts of the morning that was, the process leading up to this, etc.
No news from DeMeco Ryans this morning was inherently bad news, because if it was trending in a positive direction, DeMeco Ryans would have said that. And so we knew at some point their actions would say everything that they needed to say, and then they ultimately go ahead and announce what they're going to do and move him to the non-football injury list for the start of the season. The big key here is he can't play or practice for those first 4 weeks. So it's all just away from the team, rehab, and just the likelihood of him having 3 days of practice ahead of a game with the Baltimore Ravens in week 5 and playing week 5 just feels damn near non-existent. So we could say at least 4 weeks, but really we're talking mid-season before it feels realistic that Joe Mixon's out there playing for the Houston Texans.
Yeah, I think that's the best point that you brought up about this is the bye week's week 6. You bring him back week 5. He hasn't practiced at all, and all of a sudden you're just going to throw him out there and see what he can do. I don't anticipate that. Quite frankly, nothing would really surprise me. I would actually be surprised if he only missed 4 games. To be honest with you. And this seems like something that they've known. I don't think it caught them by surprise. But this is not this is not a situation where I think I don't even think they're playing this cautious. I don't think this is he could be back week 3, so we're gonna rest it. It feels like it's a little bit more serious than they let on, and they're kind of goofy when it comes to the way that they handle injuries. I think it's really dorky the way that sometimes they handle these types of injuries. I think it's weird.
Yeah, I mean this isn't a caution thing. It feels like it's a necessity thing. It feels like there was no chance for him to be ready this fast, and the way DeMeco Ryans kind of scoffed at the notion of the report that Mixon could have done training camp when he talked about it a few weeks ago. That was a big red flag, and then not having an update all these weeks later, another just negative to the situation. And now, he's not practicing until at least week 5. The bye week is week 6. You're on the road in Seattle on Monday Night Football in week 7. And do they just keep him till the 3-game homestand in week 8? Can he be ready week 8? He's got to get in football shape. He's got to get used to the teammates. He's got to get used to the new playbook. And I get that Joe Mixon is a really good running back, and he's had a lot of success in the NFL. He's still got to be familiar with how they're going to operate as an offense, and that's still going to be necessary for him to get out there and practice with his teammates to be ready for it.
Well, my other question is, what really happened with this Joe Mixon thing? What is the purpose of what is the purpose of the non-football injury list? I guess I should ask. That might be a question for like someone like Texans Cap, but what is the point of that as compared to IR? That might be a dumb question. There used to be different rules when it came to IR, but like what are the reasons for the non-football injury list?
Well, the non-football injury list is for a player that suffered an injury away from the facility, not doing, training with the team.
Yeah, but like, what's the point? Like, is there like some sort of financial relief if that happens? There's got to be something to where you put someone on that list to where it protects you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, there has to be some sort of differentiator between that and having him start on, say, PUP. And I'm sure there's some sort of financial gain from it as well for the team versus having him just be a regular injured player. So, and certainly if it was a regular injury, if it was injured reserve, there's practice windows that you open ahead of when you believe a player can return and things like. There's not a practice window for non-football injury lists. You have to sit for those first 4 games and then you can begin practicing. And then the team can activate you. So yeah, there's got to be some sort of advantage to having him on that list, or some sort of benefit to the Texans to having him on that list versus, PUP and then, PUP to start the season, or, injured reserve to start the season.
On the super chat, Josh has a question.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
He said, well, we get an extra spot, then maybe it's easier to make a decision on who to cut if we wait till week 5 or 7.
I mean, I would also tell you, it'd surprise me if any of the 4 backs we expect to make the roster are the ones losing their job when Mixon comes back, because Mixon has an injury history now. Chubb has an injury history. Pierce has an injury history. So it's tough to get rid of. Like, I think it's somebody else on the roster when Mixon gets back. It's not a running back on the roster. You might need those bodies.
This is a random question from Noah. Is Davis Mills better than any QB1? I don't know. Maybe I think he's probably better than Spencer Rattler.
Yeah, he could start in New Orleans.
Yeah, it's kind of random. But let's look at the state of the running back position without Mixon. And I did think it was interesting how D'Amico Ryans just went above and beyond today to praise Nick Chubb more than he really has all camp. I'm not saying he hasn't said some nice things about Nick Chubb, but he went kind of above and beyond. Here was D'Amico Ryans being asked about, and this was before we knew the Mixon news was being dropped. But here he was. And by the way, Will Kunkel called him meek. What the F was that? But here is D'Amico Ryans.
And Chubbs, from the first day he got here until now, I've seen him just continue to grow and get better. You see him get into football shape, and I see him. He looks better and better each week, especially once we put the pads on. It's like, wow, this is the Chubb that I remember, physical, downhill player. And you see him popping some runs. You see he still has the explosion, the speed that it takes to make plays in this league. The guy just understands football. Very smart player, playmaker. When you need him to make plays, he's going to make those plays. He's going to keep churning out yards. So I'm very impressed with Chubb.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't quite what he said in camp. He said some things, but he also said he doesn't look, he's kind of trying to ramp up to the
I guess D'Amico's saying that he finally ramped up. So, I mean, he did look better towards the back end than he did at the front.
He did. I would agree with that.
That's the truth.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I just, right now they got this committee, and I think Texans Cap asks an interesting question. How long before Woody Marks earns the trust of the staff to be the third down back over Dare? I would say week 1, honestly. I think he's going to get the opportunity to do it. The thing about Woody Marks is he looks like he can be a good special teams player just based on earlier, and they really haven't complained too much about his pass pro. So I think they like him. I wouldn't be surprised if crazier things have happened than him emerge as the best back in this committee sooner rather than later. I don't think that means he's going to be like taking on a heavy workload, but I would think that immediately he's definitely going to be the third down back. I would actually be surprised if he's not.
He's been so good with the ball in his hands. It's hard not to find ways to put him on the football field. And if he stays on his current trajectory, he's a guy that should be forcing his way on the field at some point this year, ahead of Chubb, Pierce, and forcing his way into being used even when Mixon comes back too, because it really started to click for him. It felt like as training camp rolled on, and these past few practices, joint practice, preseason games, all that kind of stuff, Woody Marks has been excellent. So he continues on that trajectory. He'll force his way onto the field even more than where they initially put him. And I would hope that he gets opportunities pretty early and pretty quick.
Yeah, I would agree. HDAV Traveler on the chat. Good afternoon to you, my friend. Couple of conflicting opinions on the Mixon. Christopher says disappointed not having Mixon until week 5. I wouldn't. I don't know if you're going to get him back week 5, to be honest with you.
It's like the heat in here. Not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6.
Eric says not really worried about the Mixon injury, as every game is winnable except for the Baltimore game without him. But we could probably still lose to them even if Mixon was playing. Okay. That brings up the first 4 weeks. You have the Rams, then you have Tampa Bay, then you have at the Jags, then you have Tennessee. Yeah, I think the defense is going to be what keeps them in games. So I do anticipate, like, I don't think there's going to be some sort of blowouts. I will say, I think the one thing that we spent a lot of time talking about Nick Chubb, and it's too early, until it fit like the counter and the optimistic Chubb POV. I still think this offensive line was getting really gassed up in the offseason, and I think rightfully so. I mean, there's encouraging. They sound more like a legitimate offensive line. They look the part based on the tests that were thrown their way at certain times, but I'm still looking a little bit sideways at this offensive line as they go into the first 4 weeks of the season.
Well, they haven't pushed around any good defensive lines. Like the Carolina Panthers is not a good defense, and it's not a good defensive line. When they go up against the Texans, it's not pretty. When they went up against the Lions, they didn't really have a ton of rushing success. So, LA in week 1 and Tampa in week 2, those are 2 really good defensive lines. Vita Vea is going to be a really tough player to deal with for the Texans in week 2. The Rams have a ton of young defensive linemen that are good. So they're going to get tested right away. And none of these running backs can go and help the offensive line like a Mixon could have. There were times last year where, despite the blocking of the 5 guys in front of him, Joe Mixon could make something happen. I don't know that they have one of those guys right now. In fact, I know they don't have one of those guys right now on the running back room. Chubb's line dependent on opening up holes and breaking tackles. I have no idea what Dameon Pierce is, because we've seen him this much in the preseason. And naturally there's some skepticism that Woody Marks is going to hit the ground running because he's a rookie.
The Pierce thing's interesting. This might make sense as to why they were so cautious. Like they've known this Mixon stuff for a while. Like they didn't just, today was not the first day that they just decided, oh, okay, Joe Mixon's going to be out. So Joe Mixon being out does not surprise them. And maybe it makes you go back and look at it. Maybe it makes sense with the way that they handled the Nick Chubb thing. Maybe it makes sense with the way that they handled the Dameon Pierce situation, but it's going to be committee. And it's kind of dangerous because we haven't seen what Nick Caley is. I don't want to sit here and say they're going to be a pass first team or anything, but there's some offensive coordinators that want to run the ball, and it goes back to the square peg round hole thing. It's going to be Nick Caley. I mean, you talk about one of the most important guys of the season, and he's the one that's going to be tested the most here. Like, because this, I mean, he's calling game with a running back committee of a guy whose prime is behind him, a guy whose really prime was very short lived, a rookie, and a guy who, let's just be serious, in a really, really good running back room, he doesn't get as much run as he gets. So he's going to have to figure that out. And oh, by the way, the offensive line is the biggest question mark of all. So it's going to be a real big test for Nick Caley. I think that's the thing that matters the most. And you brought it up. I think that it needs to be mentioned. The guy has never practiced for Nick Caley. He has never run this system. He was hurt last year. He got even more hurt this year. So I think there's a little bit, I'm not sitting here saying people should panic, because I still think they're going to be a good team and they're going to have a really good defense. But it does feel like the way in which this is discussed, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Even the Davis Mills question, I was just kind of kidding by the randomness of it. But we don't, there seems to be like a belief that Joe Mixon's going to come back and he's going to be Joe Mixon. I find that hard to believe. I find that really hard to believe based on all these factors that we've been talking about when it comes to the state of Joe Mixon and the state of what his situation is going to be when and if he comes back to the team.
The tough part is if this is an injury where, hey, surgery is actually how you fix it, and he's got to just play through it. At any point, you could then, re-lose Joe Mixon once he returns. So regardless of the form that he's in, which is likely to be affected if he's dealing with an injury or playing through an injury, then at any moment you could lose Joe Mixon and find yourself back where you are with a Chubb, Pierce, Marks, Agumbawale running back room. That's another scary element of the Mixon situation as well. And again, you see this and you think, okay, well, 4 games is the absolute, no questions asked, absolute best case scenario. And I just don't see how he's playing against Baltimore. Then you got the bye week, maybe Seattle in a good scenario. But he's missing time, and it remains to be seen what type of Joe Mixon you're going to get when he does return, and how likely it is that he gets re-injured when he comes back.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Jeremiah Chavez says he's 4 minutes behind, so you might have answered this before. But what percentage chance do you think British Brooks makes it instead of Pierce?
0.
Yeah, I would think so, but
Dameon Pierce is on this team. D'Amico Ryans said as much this morning. I mean, he didn't say Dameon's making the team, but someone was asked, "Oh, could Chubb and Mixon be a 1-2 punch?" He's like, "Yeah, we'll take good players, and it'd be nice to have those guys play together, and then Dameon's going to be good for us too." So like, Dameon Pierce is on the team. It's not him versus British Brooks. It's British Brooks versus someone else at another position to see if he's going to make the roster. And even then, that's primarily special teams forward with Brooks. It's not really that much of a running back situation, though. If you're 2 weeks in and Nick Chubb's banged up, then maybe British Brooks could be your short yardage guy. But it's not really Pierce versus anybody. To me, it feels like Pierce is on this team.
No, and I think they would love nothing more than to be able to keep British Brooks around.
Sure.
In some capacity. They trust if rosters were 57, he would be one of your top special teams guys. Like, there's zero doubt about it. Now, the interesting thing, like on practice squad, like I think you can only keep 6 guys that have played more than 4 years on your practice squad. And then
Correct.
The other ones you can keep. So he would still be practice squad eligible, and you wouldn't have to worry about the veteran. And he also goes, the other thing that means is he goes on waivers. So it's a matter of if other teams feel the desire to pick him up.
I also got a clarifier from Texans Cap on
I got this too.
PUP versus NFI, if you want me to explain it real quick.
Yeah, it basically just means that there's no the team doesn't have to pay your full salary if you're on NFI. Like they can,
Right.
Yeah. So that means that it must be something to where they're like, okay, well, he might miss a lot of time and we might need some salary cap relief from this. Like that's kind of what it feels like. Now they can figure it out and they can negotiate, but that's the reason I'm asking that is because maybe that means they think it's relatively serious.
Well, I mean, couldn't you see that being something that sours a guy like Joe Mixon too?
Yeah.
if they try to jerk him around on his money. So, outside of being out for the season, announcing that, this is one of the worst case scenarios.
No doubt.
Like, I mean, the only thing to me that would have been worse is Joe Mixon's out for the year because he can't practice on the non-football injury list. There's going to have to be some sort of financial decision that could also piss the player and agent off. And when he comes back, he's got to practice. He's got to get in football shape. Remember, he's dealing with an injury on his leg. So it's like, what kind of shape is he in as he's been rehabbing? Like, this is a long runway before we're seeing Joe Mixon on the football field.
Noah, going back to the Davis Mills thing.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
He says it was random. Yeah, people were telling me that was mean. I was like, no, that's kind of random. Is Davis Mills better than any starter? I didn't put a lot of thought into it, but
I'd rather have Davis Mills than Spencer Rattler and Shaw.
I would too. Yeah. That's a rough deal.
Would you rather have Mills than Flacco?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure, why not? We can
Also,
see that.
was his name Woodcock? Noah Woodcock?
Yeah, maybe that's
What a name.
That's a hell of a name there. But yeah, the Mixon thing, we aren't really shocked by it, but it will be interesting to see how Kaylee handles it. I could see Woody Marks kind of being unleashed. I would love
that.
I would be shocked if Nick Chubb looked really, really good. But I could see Woody Marks kind of being unleashed and us seeing what goes on. And I'm talking about Flacco now. I'm not talking about Joe Flacco in his prime.
Yeah, current Flacco's old.
Yeah, I'm not talking about prime Joe Flacco. Come on.
Yeah, prime Joe Flacco had one of the best playoff runs ever.
Yeah, he was cold in the playoffs. It was a while ago.
And he hadn't signed his contract either, and he got paid.
Oh yeah, he believed on himself.
Yeah.
He believed in himself and rolled the dice. The Flacco elite stuff. So tomorrow they got to make got to trim the 53 down. How does this Mixon news impact it? I don't know that it does because we haven't really functioned as if we thought Mixon was going to be on the active roster. So obviously they're going to keep 4 backs. We know that. It's good for Dameon Pierce. It's good for Dare Ogunbowale. I don't think the Mixon thing really impacts too much, but they do have some decisions to make with the 53-man roster that don't really have anything to do with Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I for weeks now I've been operating when thinking about the 53 that they're going to have Mixon's roster spot available because he's going to be on a list where he's missing time. So, yeah, it's Mixon hasn't affected the way they've been. It must be crazy to finally think about the 53 and then realize you're not going to have Joe Mixon, huh?
No, they've known this.
Again, I wonder if you could sneak an extra back onto the roster, even though, again, British Brooks is very special teams forward, but you just may need a body because Nick Chubb's 2 years removed from a major knee injury and hurt his foot last year. Dameon Pierce has been hurt every season he's been in the NFL. And Woody Marks is a rookie and Dare Ogunbowale is a specialist. So could you squeeze an extra running back on there and have him help you on special teams? I feel like you can.
Yeah, I think in their world, they want Jawar Jordan on their practice squad.
Sure, absolutely.
And then they want British Brooks on their practice squad if he's not on the roster. So that's their ideal scenario when it comes to that. I am interested. I am kind of intrigued. Like they don't even really entertain British Brooks as a running back. I think it's kind of pretty interesting. I mean, I'm not sitting here saying he's great or anything. I just thought there was a little something there to where there was like some sort of entertainment. I don't know. Maybe they're hiding British Brooks. Maybe that's the theory of all theories. They were just hiding British Brooks. They didn't want to risk him getting 200 yards per preseason game and getting picked up.
Can I interest you in Cam Akers, who was waived by the Saints earlier today?
You could not. Former Texans getting cut like crazy today. Cam Johnston, gone.
Yep.
And then Kenyon Green, gone.
Ugh, what a disaster his NFL career has been.
Yep. So the Joe Mixon, the Joe Mixon situation, we'll just stand by. We won't hear anything about.
I mean, Nick Caserio's got to be asked if Mixon's playing this season. Like, do you expect to have Mixon sometime this season?
What do you think he's going to say?
Well, I think he's going to say yes.
Yeah.
But if he gives you some sort of, verbal gymnastics, that'd be a huge concern, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Like, do you expect Joe to play at all this season?
Yeah.
If he says we'll see, like, uh-oh, that'd be crazy.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
I do like your idea that maybe Woody Marks could just force his way into this thing.
Yeah, I think he's really the only running back with a lot of upside right now. Like and like the best case scenario for the committee is that Nick Chubb is moving the chains and everything's going well, and then you have your change of pace and Woody Marks, and then Damian is able to maybe do a little something. The best point you bring up is all these guys get hurt. We haven't seen Marks. Marks and Agumbawale are the two guys that don't get hurt. And they're also the two guys that you're probably not expecting to run between the tackles consistently. Now, maybe that happens with Woody Marks, and maybe we see Woody Marks out there. And he's damn sure looked capable when they've given him the opportunity. But that's the thing. Your two injury-prone guys are the guys that you're going to be trying to get the tough yards with in Pierce and Chubb. And I just don't know that, like, let's play the pretend game here. If, let's say, Joe Mixon was good to go week 1, which back do you think they would get rid of?
I would think they'd still carry 5. I feel like they keep both of them.
Okay, what if he was fully good to go? Because I'm trying to break down this committee and just kind of look at it that way. Let's pretend that Joe Mixon never had this injury. He's good to go. You're getting Joe Mixon. Like, I would say they never even signed Nick Chubb.
Correct. He may not. He'd probably never finds himself onto the roster if they knew they had Mixon from day one.
Yeah, because with the hindsight, that's like the hindsight knowing that this was going to happen, and they obviously have a better idea than we do. That would be what I would think, and that's just kind of I'm saying all this not to crap on Chubb, but to just say to get a better grasp of this committee and what the state of this committee is. Do you see any scenario where Dameon Pierce just gets unleashed and Dameon Pierce is finds his rookie year form?
Is that a possible outcome? Does it exist in the world of possible outcomes? Yes. Is it a likely outcome? Absolutely not. It is one of the least likely outcomes possible.
But the most likely outcome is that Woody Marks is.
I would tell you the most likely outcome is that at some point Chubb and or Pierce get hurt and you have to rely on Woody Marks.
Okay.
That feels likely to me. And Nick Chubb hasn't had a healthy season in the past 2 years, and Dameon Pierce hasn't had a healthy season in the NFL.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
And that's the scary part is it gets real thin real fast if Marks isn't ready to be the guy if you lose a Chubb and or Pierce, because then it's Woody Marks, Dare Agumbawale, and Jawar Jordan getting promoted from the practice squad, and you're not running the ball real well if Marks isn't really good in that situation.
Kay asks, would you drop Will Shipley as a handcuff to pick up Dameon Pierce? Hell no.
Nah, because Shipley's one body away from a big workload. Yeah,
he's one body away from running behind one of the best offensive lines in the league, and he's the clear dude. We don't know what the situation is for Dameon Pierce. So that would be an absolutely not.
Yeah. Hang on to Shipley. Are you allowed to just draft late round running backs instead of quarterbacks that you're going to cut and put on the practice squad?
Dude, you owe Graham Mertz an apology after that performance on Saturday.
Is he still going to get cut and is on the practice squad?
But you owe him an apology for the way he looked.
Is he still getting cut?
He might get picked up after that performance. Dude was dropping dimes.
Be my guest. He'll be way less useful than a lot of the players drafted after him. But yes, that's the best he's looked in the preseason. I didn't think he was possible.
He was
And
balling, dude.
And he was
Boy was dropping dimes. Give him his props.
The funny part was I was sitting there with some friends who don't watch the Texans. They're like, what's the story on this guy? It's like he stinks. He's the fourth quarterback. He can't throw. He's got a robotic leg. And then he's running for first downs. He's slinging the bitch all over the yard. I'm just like, okay, yeah, make me look like an idiot.
It was actually an under the radar, nice little third string quarterback competition that we observed this year. I'll say I was pleasantly surprised. That was pretty nice. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, let's see how much draft equity matters and how true it's not just one day matters, because Slovis has been better a lot more days than Mertz has.
So the decisions tomorrow, I think D tackle kind of possesses the numbers game that we're playing with the 53. Like what they do at DT, I think kind of impacts all the other questions that we could list. Like I think every media outlet is doing, like, including us, is doing like bubble and the right questions. And sometimes those are the things you have to talk about. Like you try to expand on them, but I mean, it is what it is. But I think DT, where you have a lot of quality players there, is what possesses the key to unlocking all the other questions we have about the roster.
Sure, it's 5 versus 4 because those guys don't play very much special teams. I mean, they might play a little field goal block, but that's about it. So and honestly, I guess it's really, does Tommy Togiai make the roster, or do they try to sneak him through the practice squad? Which I have a feeling that he would get picked up if they tried to sneak him through.
Well, I just have a feeling D'Amico Ryans wouldn't even want to risk it.
Sure. So it's if it's 5 defensive tackles, where on the roster is the sacrifice?
Yeah, because Fatukasi might be the sacrifice, but I mean that's the real question, because it just feels like he's a good. Maybe they just go with 5. Maybe they don't need a fullback. The wide receiver thing I think is interesting. I brought this up the other day. Like Tremont Smith's returning kicks now, and obviously, if the guys in front of him aren't returning, then that might have something to do with it. But he's had success doing it, and I just wonder if maybe they look at that and maybe they think, okay, we don't need Berrios, or we like Berrios, we don't need Watson. I'm not as confident anymore that it's going to be 7 receivers, especially with the amount of bodies they have that they could potentially put on the practice squad. So I'm not as confident that they're going to keep 7 receivers at this point.
Oh, if they're gonna go 5 ends, 5 tackles, and 6 linebackers, it's almost impossible for them to have 7 wide receivers.
I also have no problem with them focusing on the D line, because I think it's important. I also think all those guys are old. So, I mean, you probably need a little bit more guys. Like they've got to get younger at running back and D tackle next year. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but they've got to. Like they are very old on the interior D line, and they are very old at running back. Like when you factor in, outside of Woody Marks, like the wear and tear and guys that are kind of beat up. So I would say that those are the 2 positions they got to focus on. But I said all that to say that I think they're going to keep 5 D tackles, and they're going to have to adjust accordingly.
Yeah, I would say 5 defensive tackles, 5 defensive ends, and it's 5 or 6 linebackers, with the 6th linebacker kind of competing versus maybe that 5th running back. So let's call it Jamal Hill versus British Brooks. Yes, who's the special teams ace and the depth guy. So that one's, and then Arthur Maulet's an intriguing player too. Are you keeping him because he's only a backup at one position? So does he make the roster? Because they haven't played him outside. He only backs up Petrie.
Yeah, but he's the only one backing up Petrie. That's the advantage he has. Although,
But they've used Miles Bryant there before.
yeah, and Miles Bryant was in that line before, and then they moved him to safety, and he's playing safety and doing a lot of things. So Miles Bryant,
And Miles Bryant doesn't have a target on his back from the officials. Poor Arthur Millette.
Man, in practice, they hate him. I don't know what he's doing to them. Function on the chat says, "Where's Autry? He needs some paychecks." Danico Autry. I don't know.
I would not be surprised to see them just move on from him tomorrow.
They need to, man. Move on.
But I could also see a scenario where they put him on IR to start the season or PUP to start the season or whatever it is. And he starts the season injured and they make a decision later.
Oh, man.
That's certainly been one of the more disappointing free agent acquisitions that Nick Caserio.
Well, especially for how much they gassed him up.
Oh, he's a badass. Oh, you want to take him into an alley fight.
Yeah, that guy's a badass. I wonder if that was like a Caserio guy. The way that Caserio talked about him, it was like, okay, he really likes this guy.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he can. Maybe he's. Here's my thing: what you saw from Danico Autry last year, like what you saw, not what he can be in the imaginary world of the hype. Like what you saw, none of that was better than what I've seen from Darrell Taylor and Dylan Horton here in preseason. And those guys are young. Danico Autry's in his late 30s. Like, move on. Cut your losses. They've also got younger bodies that can be practice squad guys that aren't injury prone like Danico Autry.
Jim says, is Tremont doing these big returns in practice? I don't notice him in the game. He had like a 47, 50, what was it, 45, 50-yard return the other day. What do you mean?
He does kickoff returns in practice.
I think he had run return for 50 yards the other day, if I'm not mistaken, off the top of the dome.
The punt return is infrequent, but he's done it.
Yeah, the punt return is infrequent, but the return, yeah, he had a 47 the other day. Yeah, I think Birdman's done. I think we gotta pour one out for him.
Oh, I had him as a practice squad guy.
Yeah, practice squad for sure. But as far as making the roster,
What happened to that boy?
numbers game. That's what happened.
I mean, it started real nice, and then it just
kind of died down.
The bird flew the coop.
It's just kind of died down. He had a good. He's a guy that they'd like to keep around. I do think it's interesting how on waivers you can just pick up as many guys like when they go in order. It's not like a fantasy draft.
Oh, it's not like I picked this guy up and then everybody else gets a crack. It's like, this guy and this guy and this guy and this guy.
Titans can take a handful of guys. I saw Ari Myrov actually broke this down really well. On X, like that. So if the Titans want, I think his example was if they want 5 guys, they got all 5, and then it goes in the next order. So it's not like you go. It's not like some sort of snake draft or anything.
It would suck so bad to make the 53 and then waivers get there and some waiver guy.
Well, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
It's happened for the Texans a couple of times. Was it 2 years ago? They grabbed 2 guys from Buffalo, a DB and Nick Broker. And then, I mean, Broker barely never played. I don't think the DB was on the roster for very long. But yeah, there's going to be somebody that I'm sure can help them.
Onzi Soup, Wags. Sorry for being late. Thanks, Cody. Afternoon, gents. Don't be sorry, man. That's why you rewind. Rewind anytime, brother.
Whenever you get here, you can. Whenever you get here, we're happy to have you.
You can always rewind. But the big news is the Joe Mixon situation. It would be a bigger deal if we actually thought that this is what's going to happen. I don't know about you, but I got like 3 text messages last week, 2 in a matter of like the same hour apart, from people doing their fantasy draft saying, hey, would you take Joe Mixon? And I was like, no. They're like, well, which running back would you take? Not Joe Mixon. I said, no.
The chance that the Texans running back room is more real football relevant than fantasy relevant is overwhelming. Like, they may be able to cobble it together for real football games. It's just, none of them are going to help you a ton in fantasy football unless it's really deep and you want to snag Woody Marks.
Yeah, Woody Marks maybe, but outside of that,
did you happen to see? I've seen it pop up in the past few days. I didn't know these things existed. 32 team fantasy leagues.
Say it again.
There's fantasy leagues with 32 teams in them.
Okay, like why?
So you're scraping the bottom of the barrel for that.
Why?
Just the challenge, I guess.
Whack. That's whack.
You have a very certain set of fantasy that you like, and that's all you like to play.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Yeah, playing the same league. That's it. I don't have like the multiple leagues. Yeah, that's what it is. I am going to start a survivor pool though on the locker room. The locker room this year. Big gifts. I don't know what. I don't think like on YouTube you can't like promise people like lots of money, but you can figure it out. But yeah, we'll probably have a little survivor pool, free entry type joint.
Nice.
The normal number of teams for fantasy is 12.
Correct.
14 you can get. It used to be great to have 14 when there were 16 games because everybody played everyone. But yeah, 12 is pretty standard. 10 is like, I mean, that's probably a little much. But yeah, 12's the hot spot.
12's the best. Yeah, 12's the best.
All right. So is there anything else we need to hit on with this Joe Mixon situation? Again, running back committee. We both would not be shocked if it's more than 4 games. No massive impact on the roster. And tomorrow, we're going to get to break down the 53. This would have been a show where we came down here and we're like, well, the wide receiver here or the tight ends here. It's the Joe Mixon thing kind of overtakes that. We thought this was going to be tomorrow's show. I'd already done the thumbnail and everything. And then next thing you know, oh, well, I'll change that. And we'll get the Joe Mixon thing.
So I have a couple of Mixon related questions for you. If you had to make a week of the season the favorite for Joe Mixon's debut, which week would you make the favorite for Mixon's debut?
7.
So Monday Night Football on the road in Seattle.
Yeah, 7 or 8. Like right I'd put over under 7.5. If I were doing a bet for Mixon, I would put over under 7.5.
I would take the over, and I believe he'll debut in week 8. 3 home games in a row.
Okay. Yeah, and that would be right. Just let him
that'd give him 2 weeks of practice. He'd watch 2 games plus the bye week, and that actually give him 3 weeks of practice before he actually played in the game. So he could practice ahead of Baltimore, practice ahead of Seattle, and then practice ahead of San Fran and play against San Fran.
Okay, so San Fran, you're saying would be where you would debut him.
Yeah, and that's the first of 3 straight home games.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's reasonable, and I do think they'll probably play some form of chess on it. Having to make do. The one thing though that we were talking about this offseason was, man, are they less Mixon dependent now in the run game? We're going to find out.
Sure.
I mean, it ain't going to be no like mystery type of thing because last year they were way too Mixon dependent. He was saving all butts. He was saving Bobby's butt. He was saving the big fat butts blocking in front of him multiple times. Like he was saving all butts. We asked the question, have they made themselves less Mixon dependent? Maybe we're looking in the wrong areas. Maybe it's the slot receivers. Maybe it's the pass game. Maybe Nick Caley's just the smartest guy in the world, but we are going to know immediately the first month of the season if they've made themselves less Mixon dependent.
My other Mixon related question for you is, out of a possible 34 games played between Dameon Pierce and Nick Chubb, how many games do you believe they'll play? So 34 games played combined between the two of them would be 2 full 17-game seasons.
Okay. 25.
Damn, that's higher than I said. I was going to say 20.
Well, the other thing is once Mixon comes back, you got to think one of them is not active. And the odds are that one of them will be hurt. It's that's just what we've seen. So
Correct.
yeah, 20 to 25. I think that would be reasonable. The reason that I said Pierce is because I could see him active and getting like 4 carries a game or something, or 5, to where
He's a kickoff return guy, and he's just like a spell back.
if he's a kickoff return guy or not.
Well, if he's not returning kickoffs and when Mixon's back, get rid of him.
I don't know if he's going to return kicks. I don't know. I mean, he's been out there fielding them, so maybe he's done a decent job on it.
And this is all if there's no setbacks. I mean, Mixon might get deeper into rehab and have some sort of setback, and then they keep waiting. My last question would be, they've got extra selections in the upcoming draft. Is there anybody you go try to trade for?
What is Breece Hall getting traded? That's always the name I hear. I hear it more than anything, and I don't like get like is someone beating him out? I haven't talked to Asman about it, but I know Jake Asman is all things Jets. Anything you want to know about the Jets? Shout out to Jake Asman, your former co-host. Like, what's the deal? Why is it always go get Breece Hall?
I'm unaware.
It always gets like it's not just one person, 2 people. Breece Hall's name comes up a lot.
I'm unaware that Breece Hall is available. Like that would be news to me. I don't know why.
To me too, but every time that something happens with a running back, it's go get Breece Hall. I hear it every time.
I don't know why. I mean, Asman's live right now, or I'd ask him, but like I don't know why Breece Hall gets thrown in there so much. But I mean, you've got extra picks.
No, but if you can get a quality back like that, then yes, that could perhaps be here like multiple years and is already he'd be your best running back. Yes. So he would be your best running back. But like I haven't heard anything about him being out there. But like when you throw out names like Brian Robinson and like all these other guys, I'm just like, I mean, no, I mean they have a bunch of like backup quality backs right now, or number 2, 3 backs. Like I don't think you're desperate enough to where you need to like go trade for a Brian Robinson or some of these other guys that get mentioned. Like Cam Akers got cut. I think that's kind of sailed.
Like there's not a player that is like for sure way better than those guys that feels like he's actually available. Like obviously if Breece Hall is available, like check in and see what the price is, because he'd be the best running back.
You know why? Because they need more Iowa State guys. They need more Iowa State guys.
That's all I was watching Iowa State play the other day, and I was thinking, you're doing well enough. You might be a Texan here pretty soon, guy.
Yeah, they when in doubt, go get more Iowa State guys. That's the way to do it.
I mean, there's just really I can't think of a bunch of names. Yeah, okay, does Devin Singletary drastically change this running back room? No. There's not really that many names out there.
No, I think they just need to see what it looks like and then figure it out. At this point, there's not any like running back name that I hear about and think that should happen.
David Montgomery, if they just wanted to go all in on Gibbs in Detroit. And again, I don't even know if he'd be available.
Do you have any like hot takes about Kadar Hallman getting a workout today per Aaron Wilson?
Congrats on getting healthy, I guess. Like, didn't he blow his knee up last year?
I don't know. That dude looks like he's like 40. But
is D'Angelo Ross going to make the roster tomorrow?
They can't quit him, dude. Can't quit him. He's always getting cooked. But D'Angelo Ross, it just seems like one of those guys that just can't quit.
Tesla went right past him in that preseason game.
And then he did the worm on his ass, dude. Pause, but he did the worm behind him. Not on his ass, but he did the worm behind him.
You got to fight him if a guy does the worm after he catches a touchdown on you.
Well, that was just the Ross. And he gets like second team reps even when he's getting roasted. Weird thing. He must be an awesome special teamer.
I would think and hope that they have enough special teamers elsewhere that they maybe can go in a different direction.
Don't really know. By the way, we went through a whole show without Cody mentioning a deep snapper, although he did ask D'Amico about the deep snapper.
Like that wasn't a big story after that backup guy couldn't even snap the ball to Townsend.
Here's Cody asking about the deep snapper.
Miko, do you expect to have long snapper Austin Brinkman back soon?
Yeah, Brinkman he's doing really well. Brinkman had a little minor deal there, but we expected Brinkman to be fine.
Boy, that new guy sucks.
He was bad. Like I wouldn't have asked about it. I probably wouldn't have asked about it until that guy had 3 bad snaps on Saturday.
Dude, it would be.
Did you see Kaimi's face?
It
He
would
was
be
like,
It would be
just distraught.
No, you know who was one of the under the radar MVPs? You can tell Tommy Townsend was a freaking athlete in high school. He was like an all-state player because he had to. The couple of them that he even got down were too high, but that guy stinks. And the craziest thing is John Weeks never got hurt for like 20 years. He never had a bad snap, and you have 2 guys that have filled his void in a matter of a month. One of them's already gotten hurt 2 months into his career, and the other one's snapping the ball all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
It would be a shame if everything goes right. They maintain and right the ship without Joe Mixon, and the defense is great, and they're set up to get where they've never gone before, and everything's great. And because they cut John Weeks, that's what holds them back. That would be a damn shame.
For no reason. And there was no reason to do it. You didn't have to do it.
Any gone.
You didn't have to do it. But yeah, the guy missed 4 practices in a preseason game, so I was wondering where he was.
Yep. Apparently minor. D'Amico
Minor.
did use the word minor, though.
Minor thing.
Yeah, well, he doesn't usually say minor. If he says minor, that means he's got to be back next week, right?
I would think that tomorrow we're going to learn that Blake Ferguson is shown the door. In fact, I would think that Blake Ferguson's already back wherever he calls.
Should have had to walk back from freaking Detroit through 8 Mile.
I don't know where Blake Ferguson's from, but I got to imagine he didn't come back to Houston for very long.
He should have had to walk through 8 Mile from Detroit home, wherever the hell he lives.
Yeah, it was not a good performance from Blake Ferguson.
We got some Europa love in here. What's your take on Jakob Johnson to all Europa fans? I enjoyed talking to him. I think he's put his best foot forward. I think he's given himself a good chance, and I think the stuff around him has actually kind of fell in his favor. Like sometimes you have guys who have good camps, but because the position group that they're competing with does well, they end up not making the team anyways. He's their only fullback, and he's done a good job at tight end. So I would say Jakob Johnson's there. The tight end thing, we didn't really get into it, but I think they keep 2 and then they figure it out accordingly, whether it's on waiver or whatever. I think in a perfect world, they want to keep 2 on the practice squad, and it's going to be between Irv Smith and Harrison Bryant, who both have over 4 years. So you're not going to keep 2 of 6 vets on the practice squad. So it'll be one of them. And then they would like to keep Luke Lachey on the practice squad as like a young guy. So I think if they can get that to happen, I think they'll do that. Jakob Johnson, they want him here no matter what. So I don't think that it's if they do release him, it's just a numbers thing, and they're going to want him here like on standby in some way, shape, or form. But I think he has a good chance to be on the roster because he can play both of those positions that we previously mentioned, and no one really did anything to like separate themselves. Like Irv Smith and Bryant didn't do anything. By the way, Irv Smith jumped. He had a false start on a 3rd and 1 or whatever it was. That'll get you. That is not a good way to handle yourself as you're trying to make a team.
Yeah, I'd be pretty surprised if Jakob Johnson's not on this team, and maybe you can just consider him the 3rd tight end and have him do fullback things.
Function says long snapper has general soreness. He has something, man.
He has a minor thing.
He has something. He wasn't even around, dude.
Yeah, it couldn't have been like it wasn't season ending, or they would have just IR'd him and had the new guy in. So it felt like it was gonna be a short-term thing, but once the fill-in guy sucked that bad, you had to ask about it. So
Yep.
I took the bullet. I know nobody else wanted to ask about it.
Deep snapper. No, I mean, that guy was pissing me off, to be honest with you. I notice I haven't said his name. You said his name. I'm not saying that weasel's name ever.
He's pissing Kaimi off too, because Kaimi was just going.
Well, Kaimi and Weeks are like best friends.
It's probably not great.
Yeah, they're like BFFs, dude. I can promise you that Fairbairn has said something to Weeks about how shitty that guy is.
the new guy or the rookie?
The new guy.
Oh, the new guy's not good.
Yes. I can assure you.
And to think he was the long snapper for LSU's national championship team.
Well, good for him. Good for him. Well, they probably didn't kick a lot of field goals, if we're being honest. They had Burrow, Jefferson, Chase, Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They probably weren't kicking a lot of field goals.
Austin Deculus.
Champion.
Terrace Marshall.
Best man cave on the team, Austin Deculus.
Yep.
Pour one out for Kenyon Green, too. He gone.
Nah.
Change the scenery did not work for Kenyon Green.
Yeah, apparently not everybody's salvageable.
Yeah, it did not work. Change the scenery. Now Ingram, change the scenery a little bit better.
Ingram, change of scenery. The Minnesota Kenyon Green, purple Kenyon Green. Seems like he's going to make the roster.
Yeah, make the roster. Don't know if he's going to be good or not, but yeah, Kenyon Green. Shout out to him. Wonder if he gets a chance to go somewhere else.
I would think that teams keep giving him a crack at a roster spot because he's a former first-round pick, and teams will keep getting disappointed by the outcome.
I don't know, man. At some point. Too bad Jimbo can't have him as like a grad assistant. If only Jimbo were coaching. Kenyon Green, our new GA.
Yeah, it's basically never clicked for him. So
Yep.
again, former first-round pick, he might get one more swing at something somewhere else. But this many years in the league, there's not that many practice squad jobs that you'd keep that guy around.
Yep. Appreciate everyone for rolling through. This was a big news day. We were kind of prepared. Tomorrow, like we knew this was coming. Tomorrow, the 53 man will be complete. That happens at 3:00 Texas time. 4:00 Texas time. We'll react to it all. We'll break it down like no one else can. And we got you covered. Subscribe, like, right along. Always remember, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.